rabbits.
There they are. Hello. It looks good to me.
Yeah, this is a pigsty.
Pigsty. No, it looks great.
To a wilderness lodge straight out of Central Casting. The camp was the dream of Irene Roach and her family. They owned the land and wanted to provide a fun escape. Camp Director Commander Mo, a veteran of providing joy for kids with special needs, says this place is creating big smiles.
A lot of them, come here and their parents, wonder how they're going to do in this new environment. They haven't really done some of these things before, and they come out here and they just shine.
But it's not just fun in the summertime. Camp Idlewild will host sleepover weekends this fall.
The girls won Clean Cabin Day today.
All right, good job.
Sean Daly, Florida 24 Network.
For more than 300,000 years, wolves have lived in our ecosystem, but now many are being hunted and becoming endangered. Veronica Vernacchio takes us to a preserve in Florida that's looking to better educate people on the species.
A wolf's howl. The noise a pack will make to communicate with each other.
They're a lot like us.
A fact that Lindsay Banks wants people to understand as they get a close-up encounter with this unique species. These are the wolves of Seacrest Wolf Preserve, where Lindsay is the operation manager. This facility was founded in 1999 by Cynthia and Wayne Watkins. At first, it was just a rescue pack of 3.
It's grown since then. We're now an educational facility, building bridges of understanding between wolves and humans.
The almost 100-acre property can hold up to 50 wolves, but Banks says 30 is the perfect number. The wolves are born through the center's breeding program. Each newborn will go through an imprinting program 9 days after being born to help introduce them to humans. They have multiple species on property, including North American gray wolves and Arctic wolves of the Great White North, all of which are keystone species.
Being a keystone species means that you're key to your ecosystem's health.
And without them, it can throw the entire ecosystem off in an area.
About a year ago, a lot of states, they've made the decision to allow wolf hunting again. They're allowing 90% of their population to be killed. And we're essentially going to throw ourselves back out of balance because we can't get past a hatred for an animal that has no reason to be hated. We're scared of something that we don't understand.
Lindsay says the truth is they're more scared of humans in the wild than we are of them, which is why she hopes continuing to give people this hands-on experience in the Big Ben will inspire change for generations to come.
Wolves are incredibly misjudged. The general public has a really bad tendency to see these guys as the big bad wolf who huffed and puffed and blew the little pigs' houses down. In all actuality, Little Red Riding Hood's a liar. These guys are better friends and family than any of us could ever be.
Veronica Vernacchio, Florida 24 Network.
Still ahead on Florida 24 Network.
A view from above helping contain a threat underwater. We're going out with Manatee County crews who are now using drones to monitor red tide blooms.
At the E.W. Scripps Company, we are creative and courageous, telling stories with integrity and advancing understanding of the world around us. We're creating the future of our industry, taking opportunities where we find them and creating them where we don't. We're growing our people as we grow our company, seeking the best in ourselves and one another as we improve the lives of those we serve. We help people find their way to trusted journalism. Find your light at Scripps. Are you a dynamic news producer who wants to tell stories with integrity? Live the principles of journalism, make communities stronger and the world around us better? Join us at one of our TV stations around the country. If you have passion for the job, vision, ability to advance the big story, and love to write, we want to find the perfect fit for you. Scripps, giving passion a place to shine. Apply today.
A Boca Raton teenager is still recovering after an encounter with sharks in the Bahamas. A fun family trip for the 4th of July took a turn they did not see coming. We want to warn you, the images you are about to see are graphic. Yanni Rodriguez has that story.
You can smell the salt in the air. Sofia Scroggy is enjoying her last few days out in Lake Boca with her father Arturo before heading back to college. The scars on her right hand, a permanent reminder of just how dangerous the ocean can be. Shark bite, minutes after Sofia and her little sister Olivia jumped in the water to spear a hogfish.
Helped her grab it up and helped her bring it to the surface. And at that point, my head was out of the water. I was holding the fish up. Just the next thing I remember was seeing a bull shark jumping out at my face and just being thrown into kind of an adrenaline panic of, oh gosh, there is sharks and I can see they're splashing. My little sister's right next to me. I can see splashing near her. And then I can see there's blood start pooling in the water. And I just remember kicking and just trying to keep seeing the sharks lunge at me.
What started out like so many other family adventures in the Bahamas turned into a terrifying struggle.
Punching it, my first instinct, because it was high up. I couldn't kick it really. And my dad always told us to punch the nose. So that's what I aimed for. And it scared them off. I remember another shark charging me again. I must have been following Sofia because of the blood.
Buying Sofia and Olivia time to get back on the boat.
I remember screaming on the boat, someone help me, please help me get in the boat. And I remember my older sister grabbed me by my shoulders and just lunged me into the boat.
Sofia's older sister, Nicole, has Sofia's hand wrapped in towels in an attempt to stop the bleeding as they race to the nearest Bahamian clinic an hour and a half away.
Then you start thinking, oh my gosh, is she gonna be okay? You know, it's her right hand, you know, and you just start racing with all the worst.
Fixing Sofia's hand was going to require more than just a couple stitches.
They found that I had 5 tendons that were cut.
Sofia would need 2 surgeries to repair the damage.
If I had waited, you know, a split second longer and my hand could have been gone.
An x-ray of her hand showed there is a silver lining.
Got a little piece of me, but I got a little piece of him too.
This fragment of a shark tooth, now a keepsake of a weekend that will be impossible to forget.
It's like a state park, but underwater, and scientists from the University of Florida are working to protect those aquatic preserves off our coastline. Reporter Eric Waxler tagged along to see why their work is so important for all of us.
Morgan Edwards and Jamie Hammond spend most of their work days on the water.
I mean, this is my office, so I mean, we've got a pretty good deal here.
Today they are trying to beat bad weather and study the aquatic preserve off the coast of Pasco County.
This area has some really nice seagrass meadows, some really clear water. It's really a beautiful area.
Florida's aquatic preserves are essentially submerged state parks. Their massive seagrass fields are key to marine life, preventing storm surge and ecotourism.
If this waterway wasn't what it is, people wouldn't flock here from everywhere, all over the place, to recreate in our areas.
To make sure the aquatic preserve is healthy, Morgan measures how much light passes through the water, while Jamie checks nutrient levels. Then it's time to jump in the Gulf and get a close look at the seagrass.
This is kind of all of our backyards, right? So we all want to do our part to try to protect it and keep it beautiful for generations to come.
Scientists say you can do your part to protect the seagrass by lifting boat engines when traveling through shallow areas.
I love that I can be a part of something that is helping to preserve our natural resources, and any small part I can play in that makes me feel good.
Florida has 42 aquatic preserves. This one off the coast of Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco counties covers more than 400,000 acres.
Eric Waxler, Florida 24 Network.
One University of Florida researcher wants to know the role flies play in red tide blooms. Ted Burgess is a Florida scientist who is testing the overall impacts of the red tide bloom. He says the Gulf Coast provides the natural habitat for what he calls filth flies that survive on dead animals. Burgess says it's possible flies could spread the toxins caused by red tide to other animals, which is what they are now researching. Red tide continues to impact areas along our coastlines, forcing back out.
While it doesn't eliminate the algae, it does make a beachgoer's day a little more pleasant when the beaches are clean. In Longboat Key, McKenna King.
Thank you for joining us. Remember, Florida 24 Network is available for you 24/7. Our app is free on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV.
You're watching Florida 24 Network, free 24/7 on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV.
At the EW Scripps Company, we are creative and courageous, telling stories with integrity and advancing understanding of the world around us. We're creating the future of our industry, taking opportunities where we find them and creating them where we don't. We're growing our people as we grow our company, seeking the best in ourselves and one another as we improve the lives of those we serve. We help people find their way to trusted journalism. Find your light at Scripps. Do you have passion for building relationships, confidence to speak with decision makers, and a results-driven attitude? As part of the EW Scripps sales team, we'll give you the tools you need not only to compete, but to excel, while enjoying the advantage of our high-quality news product and the support of an expert team to help you reach your goals and uncapped earning potential. We are entrepreneurs in journalism. You're hungry for challenges. Your potential is limitless at Scripps. Apply today.
Keeping our environment and the animals that live here safe, from sanctuaries to just regular people, the steps Floridians are taking to save our wildlife. Hello and welcome to the Florida 24 Network. I'm Jennifer De La Cruz. This is a special report, Protecting Paradise. Wildlife officials hope a turtle will help serve as a reminder for others to reduce the use of plastics. Reporter Miranda Christian explains from Boca Raton.
This 2-pound hawksbill turtle named Queen Elizabeth is recovering at the Gumbo Limbo Nature Center in Boca Raton.
So she has passed over 50 pieces of plastic so far. That is a low number for how much plastic we do see in our washback turtles sometimes.
Caitlin Bovary is with the Rehabilitation Center. She says washback turtles are usually hatchlings that get washed back to shore. She says when the really sick ones make it to their center, it's a similar issue.
Almost 100% of those have plastics in their systems.
This is just some of the plastic in Queen Elizabeth.
And there's everything from soft, pliable pieces to really hard shards that can cause some major GI damage.
Bovary says the turtle is a bit older than a typical washback. Some even come in with hundreds of pieces of plastic in their stomachs.
But we're starting to see it more and more in our older patients.
See firsthand the impact that it has on the environment and on sea turtles.
Lindsay Narodka is the city's sustainability manager, and the city is promoting Sustainable Summer. The goal is to help educate people to reduce plastic. Bovary adds the little changes people make can always help.
They make a big difference.
Other ideas on how to reduce plastic use, we'll have that listed on our website at WPTV.com. Reporting in West Palm Beach, I'm Miranda Christian.
A new safety survey on Fort Myers Beach shows the #1 issue many of you want to see addressed is pedestrian safety. But Mayor Ray Murphy says pedestrian safety is a balancing act with protecting wildlife on the island. The difficulty is how close turtle nesting season and tourist season back up to one another. We're in turtle season now, and lights have to be shaded or have to be a different type of light so it doesn't attract and endanger hatchlings. Nearly 80% of the more than 600 surveyed said they feel flashing lights at crosswalks would make them feel safer, especially since tourist season directly follows, bringing even more pedestrians here soon.
So it's the 2 T's, turtle, tourist. And so we go from protecting the turtles, now we're protecting the tourists. So we have to have sufficient light out there on those poles to protect both groups. The people, more light, the turtles, less light. So that's the act.
As leaders get ready to formally discuss the survey, they've been working with consultants to hear solutions. A subtle yet profound change is starting to unfold in Tampa Bay. The argument over climate change is moving away from whether it's actually happening and more towards solutions. Paul Lagrone is diving deep into what's happening to the local environment.
Paradise has its price. Are you seeing sea level rise?
Well, we are seeing blue sky flooding already, yes.
Lisa Foster is the floodplain administrator for Pinellas County. She leads the team that helps reduce the risk of flood to thousands of homeowners. It's a risk that's increasing. What is that data revealing so far?
So things change over time, right? Topography changes, building changes, the weather conditions change, so your probability will change over time, as well as the extent of inundation from a flood.
David Nixon knows all about flooding. What are we looking at here? What is this?
Well, we're looking at sea level rise, obviously.
Nixon has lived on the water's edge for 21 years, but the edge wasn't always his front yard.
It used to do this 2-3 times a year. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed now it's every month when we get a full moon, because the tides fluctuate with the moon.
And it's not enough to make you want to move?
No.
You just deal with it?
I just deal with it.
But dealing with it is becoming increasingly expensive for many homeowners in Tampa Bay, from skyrocketing insurance costs to customers suddenly getting dropped by their insurance companies.
And is that because of climate change or because of intense hurricanes?
Unfortunately, there's been things outside of our control that is really affecting premiums and our ability to take on additional risk.
Paul Lagrone, Florida 24 Network.
Coming up on Florida 24 Network.
Battling the heat, we're continuing to go in depth on Florida's climate challenges. We're on the ground with local farmers working day in and day out to find ways to overcome extreme temperatures. You in-depth coverage of Florida's climate challenge. Here's something to consider. There are more people living on Earth right now than at any time in human existence. 7.8 billion people. Those are a lot of mouths to feed, and this comes as extreme heat and our changing climate threatens to collapse our agriculture systems. Scientists tell reporter Michael Paluska about the worst-case scenario they're trying to avoid.
Researchers at the University of Florida are working with ranchers and farmers across the state on various projects. One of them that we're profiling searches for genes and traits in crops and cattle that make them a lot more heat resistant in our changing climate. It is mad science at its finest as these researchers search through billions upon billions of base pairs of DNA, trying to find just the few that could save the planet.
Out of the door, we live climate change.
I
Not having freezes is a good thing, but having too much heat is a bad thing too.
How soon do you need to find this awesome heat-resistant cow or bull?
We wish we could find it tomorrow, right?
But we're doing stuff. We're doing things to make things better for the future now.
When you drive by Big Red Cattle Ranch, you see a beautiful area. You see a lot of cows and bulls, but a lot of people don't realize that they're not just ranching. You look out here into this wide expanse, and we're actually learning that in the next couple of months, they're going to start studying the grass and start carbon farming.
We are carbon farming. In fact,
that's a relatively new term.
It is a new term, but we really have to dive into how exactly are we going to pay these agriculturalists for farming carbon.
Jim Strickland's ancestors came to Florida in the 1860s. Ranching is his DNA. But today, he's a cowboy turned part-time environmentalist. Not just a cowboy hat on, but a cowboy with science backing it up, right?
A cowboy that walks hand in hand with a scientist is a great way to walk in and tell your story.
His story is now a battle on all fronts, fighting to educate people driving by, politicians, and really anyone who will listen about why his land is more valuable than a housing development.
We call them ecosystem services. It's really what nature's providing through carbon sequestration, oxygen, wildlife corridors, a home for endangered species, water filtration, water storage. Water is life here in Florida. So let's be able to identify what nature gives us on these ranch lands.
I'm standing in the middle of a brand new warehouse here at Wish Farms, and it is state of the art. It's all about sustainability for them. They have solar panels on the roof, which cuts their electric bill by half, and they tell me it's 73% more sustainable than their old warehouse. At Wish Farms, it's the same story, just a different crop. Farmers fighting to keep up with climate change. We toured their sprawling campus in Plant City. This is the owner, Gary Wisnatsky, a big kid proud of the berry empire his family started 100 years ago.
But the warming climate now, we're starting to see other problems arise. We've seen more disease, pressure, and other things that could impact us going forward.
Plant City playing a key role in feeding America.
This is the right latitude. Plant City has historically been the right spot in Florida. You go a little too far south and it's too warm. You go a little bit too far north, as it used to be, you used to get freezes.
Do you think Plant City will continue to be that Goldilocks zone for you guys?
Plant City has been the Goldilocks zone. Whether that continues, we'll just have to wait and see.
I was reading that stuff and seeing that stuff, and I was just like, we're just killing this place, you know? Like, if you just give the old gal a break for a minute, she might bounce back. She would bounce back.
Charles Barrett is passionate and brutally honest about our warming planet.
Isn't that, like, it's like even more like, what the f are we doing, people?
Right. So we're actually in a point in our history where we're supposed to be cooling.
Yep.
But we're releasing so much carbon and burning so many fossil fuels and ruining the earth, we're actually heating.
Yep.
In a natural cooling period.
Yep. Yep.
We met Barrett at the University of Florida's 1,100-acre plant science research and education unit, where hundreds of projects are in the works.
What we're working on with farmers is how can we help them adopt technologies that make them more sustainable, that help them to overcome the challenges that the weather brings.
His specialty, climate change, farming, and water resources. Barrett says what we grow, where we grow, and how we grow it is changing.
It used to be that you could plant a crop and rely on the rain. You know, I'm still looking to figure out what a normal year in Florida is. You hear about this elusive normal year, and it's like, that doesn't exist. And then maybe it never did. What we can see is that now things are even less normal.
Barrett is one of 3 researchers we interviewed at the University of Florida. All have PhDs and are some of the best scientists in the world.
One of the major way of mitigate future climate change is developing high temperature stress adapted variety.
Muhammad Ali Babar is a plant geneticist at UF. He's searching for natural heat-resistant genes in wheat hidden somewhere in their massive DNA. If you could answer one question in your research to help the world, what's the one thing that you would want to answer?
Increase wheat yield 20% in next 20 years.
when it's really hot and humid, we don't feel like eating, and that's what the cattle do. They drop off feed. If they are not eating, they are not growing, their reproduction is going to be impaired. So you look at an effect on productivity, which is going to hurt the bottom line.
Raluca Mateescu is a professor of animal genetics at UF. For the past 7 years, she searched for what sounds like a mythical beast, thermotolerant genes in cattle.
The DNA that you find in the cell, it's composed of 3 billion base pairs. Yeah, so we have to look at all of that and figure out which of those 3 billion base pairs makes an individual more heat resistant or heat tolerant.
So far, they found only one heat-resistant gene mutation dubbed slick hair in dairy cattle.
So that produces shorter hair and slicker hair, so it's a lot shiny, which means it would reflect the solar radiation a lot better.
One down, 3 billion base pairs to go. These red cattle variety on Strickland's ranch were bred nearly 60 years ago to survive the heat of Florida, but every tick upwards in temperatures makes even this breed more susceptible. By late century, a recent study published in the Environmental Research Communications Journal shows even more extreme temperatures are on the way. The authors estimate Florida will have 120 days where the heat index is more than 100 degrees. That's the feels like temp when you factor in humidity. The question now, will all the science and data save us?
I don't have tinfoil on my hat this morning saying the sky is falling and we're going to burn up. What I'm saying is that science and research are starting to tell us that we are going to see changes and we need to adapt if we will survive.
In Tampa, Michael Paluska, Florida 24 Network.
Still ahead on Florida 24 Network.
It's a unique group of artists turning masterpieces into a lot of money. We'll introduce you to the monkeys painting to keep their sanctuary thriving. So far this year, a record number of manatees have died in Florida, and experts say we're on track to see more than 1,000 manatee deaths by the end of the year. According to FWC, the top 3 factors most likely responsible for deaths this year include red tide, boating accidents, and a lack of food for manatees on the East Coast. Cora Burcham is the Director of Multimedia and Manatee Research Associate for Save the Manatee Club. She's been studying this growing problem for about 10 years now.
The shortage of food sources along the Atlantic coast is one big issue, and that's really happening because of continued algae blooms. Algae blooms are blocking the seagrasses, so seagrasses cannot grow.
Right now, there are projects underway to replant seagrass for manatees on the East Coast, but it's a very long and costly process. So for now, experts say we can help by watching out for manatees when we're on boats. Also, avoid using fertilizer or other lawn care chemicals during tornado season. And if you see an injured or sick manatee, contact FWC or an aquarium right away. Bush Wildlife Sanctuary plans to move to a larger space in Jupiter Farms, but there are some challenges ahead. A plan to build a soccer complex at the same proposed site was voted down last year. As Mike Trim shows us, Wildlife Sanctuary staff then pitched their plan of what they think will be a great fit.
Opening the gate to Bush Wildlife Sanctuary's future.
This, of course, will all be updated.
Here on this 19.4 acre land at Rocky Pines and West Indiantown Roads in Jupiter Farms. Can you envision the bears, the panthers, the skunks, the birds, the snakes, everything here?
Absolutely.
Sanctuary Executive Director Amy Kite showed WPTV the site she hopes to move into next year.
We just need more space. We're getting more animals, we're seeing more visitors. We just really need to expand and grow. And as with anybody wants a place to call their own.
That place right now is the sanctuary's long-standing home here in West Jupiter, currently leased from the Loxahatchee River District. You can see the families visiting the foxes, panthers, even bears here. At the Rocky Pines Road site, there's work to be done. The land use is approved by the county, but scheduling construction is taking some time. The pandemic caused a building slowdown and backup. Kite says they'll be ready for the move. One of the big questions is, how do you transfer all those animals from one site to another? This is one means. This portable kennel can hold a panther or another large animal. Having all those animals nearby will be different for Rocky Pines Road neighbors like Amanda Amanda Akins.
Oh, of course, there's going to be traffic concerns because we are a dead-end street having all that traffic coming in. But from what the plans look like, it seems like they've got things figured out as best they can.
But Akins says it will also be a big win.
Having something like this, everyone's going to be really excited about. And also, it's a plus because I can walk my kids down there.
And oh, how Kite agrees.
But I'm very excited for the day that hopefully it'll be like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and you just open the gates and it's just this, and wonderment.
Mike Trim.
They call her Aquarium Girl. The rising star has helped her famous family run the Tarpon Springs Aquarium for years, but now she's branching out to help kids in need. Sean Daly pays a visit to Paige's Planet.
I try to imagine what I would have wanted to see when I was little and then try to provide that for them. If this is your first snake, he is the one to meet.
All right, it's official. I am calling you the Steve Irwin of Tampa Bay. Are you ready for that mantle?
Oh, I am so ready for it.
I think you are too. I love it.
That is like a dream come true.
They call her the Aquarium Girl.
And they can grow to be up to 14 feet long and 1,000 pounds.
Paige Conjure Henry. For years, she's helped her famous family run the Tarpon Springs Aquarium, which just moved into a very cool new space. But Paige also has a solo act.
I've got a favorite reptile.
Paige's Planet is a generous outreach program that today is visiting her new fans at the Children's Cancer Center in Tampa, bringing smiles and slithers to kids all over Tampa Bay.
I do feel really passionately about these animals, so I feel like if I can just translate that passion to those kids, that they're gonna love them too. It's a squishy.
Paige is actually a Shakespearean trained actor, but life and wildlife intervened. Now her traveling roadshow plus a fun YouTube channel are getting her closer to a new dream.
My biggest dream would be to just be the Steve Irwin of wherever I'm at.
You already are. I gotta build you up. I gotta build you up now.
All right, I'm ready. Where's Bindi? We'll be BFF.
There you go. I love it. Sean Daly, Florida 24 Network.
Protecting the official bird of Cape Coral is a top priority for wildlife groups. The burrowing owl has gone from being classified as a species of special concern to the threatened species list. As Calvin Lewis shows us, one local group is now looking to preserve their natural habitats.
It doesn't take any kind of a small disaster to really wipe out a community of wildlife.
Pasha Donaldson is with the Cape Coral Friends of Wildlife. Their mission, to preserve and enhance the habitats of protected wildlife species. She says wildlife, such as the burrowing owl, is being lost every day by the thousands due to development.
We are in rainy season. The ground is saturated, especially in the north part of the Cape. So the owls are displaced. They're flying around. They're trying to find a safe place. And this is what we go through every year. They survive. You know, some don't survive, some do survive, but that's the way it is.
According to Donaldson, the burrowing owl went from being classified as a species of special concern to the threatened species list in 2017. She says the owl count this year is about the same as last year, with 1,000 pairs here on the Cape. The area that I'm standing in is just one of the latest to be classified as a nesting area, only it sits on top of a development where some new homes are planned to be built, and that is where the FWC come in.
The agents are pretty much on top of it. They coordinate with the construction person. When they go to scrape the land, 24 hours before they scrape is when they do the owl take. And that way the owls will not come back. If you leave too much time, the owls will come right back and start digging. They have to go through the whole process again.
According to the FWC, that particular area has been properly scoped to determine if any eggs or fledglings were present. None were found, and so the adult owls were safely flushed from their nests and the burrow filled. But not all burrows share the same outcome.
Without the vacant spaces, without the land, without the lots and the other things necessary for owls to eat, any wildlife to eat, our little wooded areas, etc. We will become like a city of Miami, and the only wildlife you're going to see are dead dogs on the street and maybe a mockingbird.
The good news is there is a solution, the Starter Burrow Program. Those with the Cape Coral Friends of Wildlife are offering residents the opportunity to open their property to these threatened birds.
How unique would that be that you can just drive through a city and have your wildlife right in your front door? And as you know, it's a tourist attraction. It's economically good for the Cape. People from all over the world come just to photograph our little owls. So they spend money. They stay at the hotels. They eat at the restaurants. So economically, it's a smart thing for Cape Coral to do.
You can find more information about the program on our website at fox4now.com. Calvin Lewis, Florida 24 Network.
There are some unlikely artists in Florida getting in on a growing trend of digital art and selling it online for big money. As Megan McRoberts shows, these artists are the primal kind. Chimpanzees at Save the Chimps are making art to save their sanctuary.
From living in cages subjected to years of medical testing and experiments to now living in this open chimpanzee sanctuary, 224 chimps call Save the Chimps their home.
They are beautiful. They're amazing.
Ana Paula Tavares is the CEO here, tasked with giving the chimps the closest experience she can to living in the wild.
In the wild, they have a lot of stimulation.
But in here, that stimulation comes from all kinds of enrichment activities. 3 chimps in particular have taken quite the interest in art.
We know that Cheetah and Tootie and Clay are especially great artists and love spending their time painting.
And now their talent is going for sale in a digital format called NFTs. NFTs are gaining more popularity online. People can buy art, music, memes that are one of a kind. But these chimps are creating art that will be put online to become the first ever chimpanzee-made NFTs sold by curator Truzy to recognize World Chimpanzee Day.
They've done a lot for us in many ways, and it's payback time.
The money raised from selling their paintings will go right back to helping them, like buying their food.
I'm talking about thousands of pounds of food.
Maintaining their home and keeping plenty of art supplies on hand, helping them live lives now filled with color.
Watching them paint, just it's one demonstration of them being okay and them getting a chance to just relax and be whoever they want to be.
Reporting in West Palm Beach, I'm Megan McRoberts.
Thank you for joining us for our special Protecting Paradise. Remember, Florida 24 Network is available for you 24/7. Our app is free on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV. Right now on Florida 24, an inspirational story about organ donation, how one woman gave her own kidney to save her husband's life. Hello and welcome to the Florida 24 Network. I'm Jennifer De La Cruz. We are connecting you to the top health stories across our state. The pandemic continues to place a huge amount of stress on healthcare workers, leaving employees in Florida feeling burnt out.
But with this COVID variant, right, we definitely have to continue to be mindful and not rest on what we've seen. So we'll continue to see volumes grow because we recognize that our patients within our community is going to stay in need. They're still going to need care and still services.
That was Candace Smith with Cape Coral Hospital. Recently, a new study by the American Medical Association surveyed more than 20,000 healthcare workers, and half of them reported burnout during the pandemic. At the Cape Coral Hospital, Smith says this is something they're always working to identify and treat. She says burnout can come in many different forms, and the American Medical Association adds that workers who were surveyed had feelings of depression, anxiety, and high fear of exposing their loved ones to COVID-19. Smith says at the Cape Coral Hospital, helping their staff feel valued is a top priority.
You know, the other day I was rounding in the emergency department, and I'll tell you, our emergency department at Cape Coral is very busy. But when you talk to frontline staff and you see their continued work and commitment, and it's moving.
Staff members at Cape Coral Hospital have started a wacky t-shirt day as a way to help make work fun again. Smith says despite the long road healthcare workers have had to travel, she continues to see a level of dedication and relentlessness that you can't help but admire.
Colton Chavez, Florida 24 Network.
With people still being hospitalized by COVID-19, we're finding out how much that can actually end up costing you. Fair Health Analysis found 15 to 20% of people with COVID-19 end up in the hospital. The organization legislation brings transparency to healthcare costs by searching healthcare claim databases. It estimates the average cost of being hospitalized with COVID is around $73,000 without insurance.
Because that is very expensive if you don't have insurance. Anybody that doesn't have insurance, there's no reason not to have insurance.
Florida Blue says its employer health plans and Medicare Advantage members don't have to pay out of pocket, but there was no specific cost for a coronavirus hospital stay. It's based on your plan's cost-sharing terms. While some married couples are attached at the hip, you could say one Florida husband and wife are attached at the kidney. During the pandemic, they were involved in a kidney transplant that would change their family forever. Robert Boyd shares their inspiring story.
Dominic and Anastasia Pavlinic are the last married couple you'll find to back down from a challenge. They even met under intense circumstances.
Hurricane Wilma in 2005, actually, we wound up at the same gas station pumping gas, and we were both kind of surprised because we couldn't believe that we were the only two.
The West Chase couple married a few years later, and then along came their daughter Milana. But life was anything but fun and games. Dominic has a genetic disease and was in need of a kidney transplant right in the middle of a pandemic.
I had always hoped that I would be a match for him, and it was always in the back of my head that this is something that I wanted to do no matter what.
But it wasn't up to Anastasia, it was up to science.
For every 5 people that get tested, probably 1 would be a match.
As it turns out, Anastasia was a match. Now on to the next hurdle, staying COVID-free until surgery.
We were really walking on eggshells for a long time, just to make sure that, my daughter didn't bring it home from school, that she didn't bring it home from her friends.
In December 2020, the surgery took place, escalating their marriage to a whole new level.
At Tampa General, and right before we were both called away from each other, I thanked her and told her I loved her, and
we hugged each other.
It brings you closer together for sure. It's like no pun intended, right? You have a piece of your spouse inside of you that's keeping you alive.
Anastasia is no longer referred to as mom around the house. Milana and Dominic call her a hero.
I just thought, wow, my mom's giving one of her organs to my dad, so that's a little crazy.
This family just wants to remind everyone their story may be unique, but the need for organ donors is all too common.
And we hope that this story inspires someone out there to donate to a family, friend, a loved one, or even a complete stranger.
Robert Boyd, Florida 24 Network.
Although COVID cases are spiking, organizers for live events say they're confident they can keep people safe even in large crowds. In Tallahassee, the Downtown Improvement Authority says they have COVID-19 safety protocols in place. If cases do get out of hand, they'll require masks and limit capacity. Organizers for First Fridays, a popular capital city event, say they're going on as planned. They add they want to keep the event going for businesses who have already struggled enough through the pandemic.
Definitely a predominantly outdoor space and definitely social distance friendly and about as safe as you can get as far as getting out there and getting back in the community.
Railroad Square does request you wear a mask when visiting any of their indoor stores.
Coming up on Florida 24 Network.
Where sorrow meets serenity, we'll take you inside a place right here in Florida, providing a unique way of healing to veterans and family members of fallen soldiers. There is a legal battle brewing in Florida over a popular pesticide called paraquat. Many people in the agriculture industry say exposure to paraquat increases the risk of getting Parkinson's disease. California attorney David Dickens is with the Miller firm. Dickens says the firm is filing a class action lawsuit for Florida agriculture workers who were exposed to the chemical. The herbicide is used to kill weeds and grass, and
where you can relax and recharge and regenerate.
It's hard to imagine a place of so much peace and healing actually had to come from a place of so much pain. In September of 2009, Kelly Kowal's son Corey went out on a mission in Afghanistan to clear IEDs. Unfortunately, that day, he and the medic on his Humvee would not come home. Can I ask you about Corey?
Yes. I love talking about him. He knew what he wanted to do in life from the very beginning. I mean, he wanted to be airborne ranger. And
from the time he was a kid, he knew.
He knew. He wanted to jump out of planes. He used to practice jumping out of the trees.
Corey Kowal always told his mom he wanted to save lives. Joining the fight in Afghanistan was the way he knew how.
After he died, Kelly says Corey came to her in several dreams, telling her to build a place for healing. 100% run by volunteers, slowly it has come together with donations from private donors to big businesses who believe in what is happening down here in Ruskin.
They're never going to know the amount of lives that their donations have made. I've been lucky to see it. When you have somebody come up and say, I wouldn't be here today and be one of the 22. It makes all the hard work worthwhile.
And in many ways, through his mother, Corey Kowal is still saving lives, even after his death.
It gave me a purpose that I didn't have, that I was lacking in my life. And I now realize how fortunate I am to have fallen into a purpose, one that is so meaningful to so many people.
I'm Jamison Euler, Florida 24 Network.
Still ahead on Florida 24 Network.
We're looking into disability funding, how families are fighting to hang on to services for their loved ones with developmental challenges despite a recent increase in funding. Families are fighting to hang on to services for their loved ones with developmental disabilities despite a recent increase in funding earlier this year. The Florida legislature made a historic $95 million investment into the state's program that lets individuals receive care in their own homes and community rather than in an institution. The move will allow nearly 2,000 people to come off the state's years-long 20,000-person wait list. But advocates tell Kylie McGivern they worry other barriers to benefits could put people at risk.
Okay, here we go.
A daily routine built on trust.
Are you ready to go for another ride? Here we go. Okay.
Understanding.
All right, so you can grab that. Good job, good job. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Comfort.
Hang on tight. There you go. Very good.
That comes with a bond Jonathan and Ernest began building 17 years ago.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, there we go. You got to enjoy this. All right, you got to enjoy what you do.
Ernest Binnerman is Jonathan's supported living coach.
And this is Ernest and Jonathan at the Florida Aquarium.
But more than that.
I'm like a brother to him, okay? And so we're family.
Jonathan was born prematurely.
No. Nice to meet you.
And as a result, has severe cerebral palsy.
He's aging with his disability. I'm aging just as, aging out of caregiving entirely because I can't do it. And there are a lot of people like us, and the worst nightmare all us parents have is what's going to happen to our son or daughter when we're gone.
Carol Novak has spent her waking hours putting together a 24/7 team to help care for her son. Lining up the pieces. Working to keep everyone connected.
Connect 4.
Okay, is that a win?
That's a win.
But now, after 10 years, a change to the funding for Jonathan's care threatens to send those pieces crashing.
It makes absolutely no sense.
The Agency for Persons with Disabilities says funding for what's called the I-Budget Medicaid waiver that allows more than 35,000 Floridians like Jonathan to receive care in their homes and be a part of their communities is based on the level of need and typically changes over time. Every 3 years, there is a thorough review for any changes to a customer's funding.
The services that Jonathan's had approved for 10 years, he still needs them.
Instead, the state says some of what Binnerman handles as a supported living coach can be handled by personal supports who do not have the same level of training. In an appeal, Novak argued her son's health and safety cannot be maintained using cheaper labor. The appeal was denied. How much is this weighing on you?
Oh, I don't sleep well at all.
In the last year, nearly 1,000 people have requested a hearing to appeal the state agency's decisions on their case. More than 250 cases remain open. Novak has since hired an attorney to appeal the decision in court. What is fueling your fight for your son?
A fear. I'm just terrified of what would happen to him without these good people. And he's totally aware of his vulnerability.
A pay cut to Binnerman's services would put his job in jeopardy.
That's terrifying. When things was well for 10 years, with the nucleus, with the team coming together, that takes time.
The pay low, the job demanding, medical insurance on his dime.
There's people not knocking on the door to do this job.
There is a 51% turnover in direct support providers, up 11% since before the pandemic, according to the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, raising concerns about meeting the need of current customers and thousands more set to come off the iBudget wait list. Is this a crisis?
Yes, it's a crisis.
Attorney Nancy Wright has been advocating for disabled adults for more than a decade and says over the last year, there has been pressure from the state legislature to reduce spending.
A lot of denials for eligibility that surprise me, push people to use this lower paying service with no change in the person's condition. In fact, they may even be a little worse than they were before. There's got to be a better understanding of the amount of money that it takes to handle this population. Florida is consistently in the bottom in the nation.
I didn't get a chance to text him this morning.
One of Wright's clients, Robin Clark.
I'm going into my fourth year at the University of Florida, and I'm living my dream. So I knew from the time that I was 6 years old that I wanted to come to UF.
Robin, like Jonathan, has cerebral palsy and says it is crucial for people to realize a person's disability and needs are not one size fits all.
I have 24/7 care to help me go to class and things like that, and without them, I wouldn't be able to be here.
Robin says the residence hall she lives in,
I can just tap it with my foot and the door opens. Come in, I'll flick the light on.
Is one of just 2 like it in the country.
That's the sink over here, you can adjust.
But the care Robin receives changed when she turned 21.
Something about the numbers just didn't look right.
Cutting the hours she received for hands-on help in half, replaced with a social companion.
The hours that they were going to provide wasn't going to meet the care needs that I had.
She's waiting on a hearing for her appeal.
Living with cerebral palsy is not easy. There are some days when I shut the door and I come in here and I just cry because I'm so frustrated. But the thing that keeps me going is knowing that I can then use those struggles to help other people.
There you go. Let me sure it's in there. All right.
I just want all of us to be able to thrive because we can.
We asked the Agency for Persons with Disabilities for an interview multiple times over the last month, but a spokesperson would only provide information through emails and tells us the agency is committed to meeting the medically necessary services of its customers. Florida has submitted a proposal to the federal government asking for an additional $191 million over the next 2 years as part of the American Rescue Plan Act stimulus package to bring more people off of the iBudget wait list. I'm Kylie McGivern, Florida 24 Network.
Living their last days in peace, that's the goal of one nonprofit. Titilayo Ukua tells us how they're helping terminally ill patients keep their comfort animals.
Our clients, their animals, are members of their family.
That's why Aval started a new program to help hospice patients keep their pets as they draw near the end of life. And why Animal Lover Mabian Glock says volunteering with the Aval Pet Peace of Mind program is truly rewarding.
And seeing our clients bring their animals in when their time is drawing near, it's been really wonderful to see what kind of comfort and peace they draw from having their pet right there in the room with them.
Most hospice patients are treated from their own homes to make their transition more enjoyable. Watts Mercy is the volunteer coordinator. She tells Fox 4 that the volunteers are an essential part of making this program work.
The pets actually stay home with their family members, and the volunteers go to the homes and they'll walk them or feed them or change the litter box or take them to the groomers or take them to the vets or whatever other needs they may have.
The program also allows family members to bring pets to patients that are cared for in the facility.
We want to make sure that that very important piece of that family is kept with them.
About is expanding their program to also foster and rehome pets when their owner passes away. If you're interested in volunteering, visit our website at fox4now.com. I'm Titilayo Akua.
Swimmy, a new pool sharing app, allows users to rent others' pools. But as Lauren Moss explains, if the pool isn't taken care of, bacteria like E. coli can thrive and put swimmers' health at risk.
Have you ever noticed your eyes are red after swimming in a pool? Pool experts say chlorine isn't to blame and that you can point the finger at bodily fluids.
It's the reaction of chlorine with the organic materials, the oils and the dirt and the bacteria, and they create what's called chloramines. And those chloramines are the irritant, so that's what irritates your eyes.
As for that bad chemical smell, well, that's due to bodily fluids too.
I mean, chlorine can have an odor that's kind of a faint odor. Chloramines have a pungent odor. And so if you get in a pool and you get that really pungent odor and your eyes are burning, that suggests that the disinfectant's pretty well been used up.
Wyatt says public pools are subject to regulations to make sure they stay clean, whereas a private pool is not held to the same standards.
And so if it's the homeowner that's maintaining the pool, and if they really aren't skilled at that, then you could really have the same kinds of problems where the pool water quality is not good.
Wyatt recommends Swimmy hosts to hire a professional pool cleaning service, and if they opt to, at the very least, get educated about proper cleaning protocol. Still, a local pool maintenance company says the average pool owner shouldn't be using Swimmy. The extra traffic in the pool requires more maintenance and means more algae buildup.
A lot of behind-the-scenes things when it comes to pool servicing and cleaning, the average person does not know. So I would recommend, unless you were, proficient in something like that, to get into it. But for the average pool owner, I don't think I would really recommend it.
Bear says if you decide to rent out your pool, to add the proper amount of chlorine, acid, alkalinity, and yellow eliminator. But too little could mean extra bacteria.
You don't use enough chlorine in the pool, it's going to be a little bit harder for the chemicals in the pool to react with the algae and the bacteria. So you do want to make sure you have a proper level of chemicals in the pool, just so you know that it's being treated and handled accurately.
Swimmy recommends that guests shower before entering the pool. Wyatt agrees, saying this could reduce bacteria in the pool.
It's really important because whether we think so or not, there's contaminants on your body. It's fecal material, it's sunscreen, it's whatever it may be. And that gets in the pool and that utilizes the chlorine.
I'm Lauren Moss.
Thank you for joining us. Remember, Florida 24 Network is available for you 24/7. Our app is free on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV. On Florida 24, Two Americas. Our goal with this special is to introduce you to new perspectives and issues in our country and communities, showing you the America you know and the America you might not. Hello and welcome to Florida 24 Network. I'm Jennifer De La Cruz. We start with a federal program put in place in the 1950s.
To provide benefits, women reported nearly twice as much gender discrimination, and mothers were nearly twice as likely as fathers to say taking time off for childcare had a negative effect on their careers. Then there's COVID. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the pandemic has set women's labor force participation back more than 30 years.
You have to learn how to be resilient. You have to keep pushing. Yeah, this is the way the world is, but sitting here and waiting for something to fall in your lap is not going to help you.
In the last 3 years, Wyoming legislators have submitted a series of bills aimed at closing the gap. All but one failed. Instead, groups on the ground have educated and empowered. Justine went through a program called Climb Wyoming, which offers job training and placement for low-income single moms.
There we go.
Now she works for Wendy at the Business Center,
our intake form,
which provides aid and resources for female entrepreneurs. This is how she perseveres. At work, quiet focus.
You want me to start from there?
At home,
okay.
Leadership and love.
What? Ouch.
All driven by purpose.
With my oldest, to have him tell me, I'm so proud of you. I'm going to end up crying. I think it's an amazing thing to know at such a young age, my boys, they see it. They see the work I'm putting in, and they are proud of me.
We read this.
No.
In Laramie, Wyoming, I'm Matt Pearl.
Leaders are now looking at how to attract more teachers who reflect the students in their classrooms. Educators note a big disparity in the number of teachers who are white versus black. Nationwide, 84% of teachers are white compared to 8% black. A recent study randomly assigned black students to at least one black teacher in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Those students were 13% more likely to graduate from high school and 19% more likely to enroll in college. That research came out in 2020, but in 2012, the Shaker Institute took a hard look at demographics from 9 of the nation's largest school districts.
While the numbers of students of color were increasing and were indeed becoming a majority of students in the United States public education system, the numbers of teachers of color lagged far, far behind.
Some districts created task forces to fix this problem, and others created programs that brought high school students in to help teach and inspire younger students. Thank you for joining us. Remember, Florida 24 Network is available for you 24/7. Our app is free on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV. Right now on Florida 24, from students going missing to DUIs on the rise. Over the next half an hour, we're going in depth on some of the biggest stories across our state. Hello and welcome to Florida 24 Network. I'm Jennifer De La Cruz. Thousands of Florida students have gone missing. That's right,